हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
Hare Krishna. So, am I audible now? I'm not able to hear from anyone.
हरे कृष्ण
Yes,
माता जी।
yes, now I'm able to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for confirming. Yeah, we'll wait for 2 minutes for the other participants to join. It's 3:58 now, and then we can start. Hare Krishna. So, I welcome you all to the Saturday session on Bhagavad Gita, where we are on chapter 2 now. Let's start with the prayers. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सवर्णलिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशकारिणे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। Please accept number obeisances at your lotus feet, all devotees. Thank you so much for coming. Requesting if you can please also switch on your videos. I feel more personal interaction.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Thank you so much, Mataji. I guess Mataji, you have joined for the first time, right? Raj Lakshmi Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, thank you so much for joining. I hope I'm able to serve you well. Thank you, Shruti Mataji. Thank you, Saraswati. Haribol. Okay, so uh, let us start. I guess there have been some volunteers who would have reached out to you on how the class is going and what are the feedbacks or whatever improvements are needed. So based on one of those improvements, we will start with the class on time, and later at the end we would keep 5-10 minutes for questions, comments, suggestions, and if any devotee wants to share their realizations. Okay, so we will start the class. So let me share my screen. Please let me know if you're able to see. Is it visible?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you for confirming. So, yes, so we were on second chapter. Initially, in the first chapter, we discussed how in the first half of the first chapter, the qualities of how the Pandavas have arranged their army and how they are so powerful and there are so many signs of victory they were described. And later, Arjun started getting confused when he asked Krishna to bring the chariot in between the armies. And after that, he posed 5 reasons to Krishna why he doesn't want to fight the war, right? So after giving those 5 reasons to Krishna in the second chapter, he initially Krishna chastised him that what you are saying is like you're talking like um, any small person who you would say important. He used bad words as well, but then still Arjun was further giving his last doubt of indecision. He was telling his confusion, and then at the end, like when Arjun surrenders after 2.7, when Arjun surrenders, then Krishna starts to speak from 2.11. And as you can see here, 11 to 30 verses 11 to 30, they are giving the details of Atma Gyan, the knowledge of the soul, analysis of body and soul. This basic knowledge has been given in this section 11 to 30. So we have covered in the last classes because the first reason of Arjun was compassion, compassion towards the material relatives he had. So for that compassion, Krishna is giving this knowledge of the soul, and he's again and again telling him that why he should not lament unnecessarily. So he's giving the reasons of that all individual souls exist eternally, and the changing of the body is natural. And even if you feel, even after understanding the soul's basic nature, if you still feel that you won't be able to tolerate their separation, then you still have to tolerate this duality, just like we tolerate heat and cold. And why should we tolerate? The main reason is equanimity. It makes us eligible for liberation. So after that, we discussed from 16 to 22 that how the soul never dies and the body is perishable. So body is dying, only the body is getting destroyed, but the soul is not getting destroyed. So this is what we have covered in the second chapter till now. From today, we would first initially try to understand what is the soul, what is the supreme soul, how are how are they getting connected, right? So all those things we will discuss, as I've also mentioned in the group, and then we will start on these verses of 23 to 25, which are discussing on the qualities of the eternal soul, and then from 26 to 30, that uh, different doctrines. Krishna would mention that even if you do not believe that the soul and body is separate, if you think that it's just a body and it is going to die anyhow, it is just a matter of chemicals, then also you should not lament. Okay, so let's start. So last class that we discussed, it ended on 2.22, which said that changing of the bodies is like changing clothes, right? Changing dress. Specifically, Krishna is using this analogy of changing dress. Is Krishna using the analogy of changing places or changing mindset? Any other analogy he's not saying, right? He's specifically mentioning the analogy of changing bodies like changing dress. So we have to understand in that manner that why this is being done. Okay. So initially this particular this fundamental, we have to understand that uh, the soul is basically eternal, right? And only the body is going to die. But everybody is laboring in this illusion that I am this body, I am this dress, right? So this is the uh, biggest loss of the society at large now, that there is no distinction between the body and the soul, right? We think the body is all in all, and that is why all the illusion comes into picture. Suppose if you are hungry and I give you this proposal that I'll wash your shirt very well, I'll wash your dress very nicely, and I'll give you. So, will your hunger be satisfied by this? No, right? Similarly, we all are spiritually hungry. By spiritually hungry, meaning our soul wants to be reunited with Krishna. It wants to be in the process of Krishna consciousness, always going through the devotional service. But what we are being like our focus is being catched away by what these philanthropic and humanitarian activities, which are coming under the labels of altruism, nationalism, communism, democracy, all these isms, socialism, all these basically what they are doing, they can be compared to that washing of the clothes. As good as your detergent may be, as good as your way of washing may be, but the problem is different. The problem is that I'm hungry and you are giving me one of the bestest solution to wash my shirt well, right? So these are basically different ways, and we cannot satisfy ourselves fully till the time we are satisfying the soul. Okay, Srila Prabhupada used to mention that everybody in this world is searching for God, but some realize it and some don't. How how can we say that everyone is searching for God? Because everyone is searching for pleasure, right? Is anyone searching for sadness? No, right? It comes by default. Similarly, if we are searching for happiness, but only Krishna is the reservoir of happiness. He is the ocean of bliss. So, by directly or indirectly, if I know that I am trying to find Krishna, then directly, if I'm not knowing about Krishna, if I'm just trying to find happiness in this material world, so called temporary world, then I'm indirectly trying to search for Krishna. So, the basic solution, which is not which is not available to the human society at large as of now, to the leaders as of now, is that the solution is to feed the soul with what elevates its consciousness. If there is any other solution, there can be economic solutions, there can be different types of solutions, right? There are so many people who say that annadan is the highest, right? There are so many people who believe in this. It's very they are just considering the body. Then there are so many people who would just think of the economic development of the country, economic this, economic that. We are so backward, we have to become a developed nation. But what do you actually mean by advancement? In today's world, what is the meaning of advancement? It means to move from one illusion to a deeper illusion, right? So our whole advancement is based upon this fundamental illusion that I am this body. So unless and until I am considering myself as a soul and the other individual living entities as soul, basically I am just considering myself as body and the others also as body. So the differentiating factor that comes into place would be body, right? So we think that we are making advancement, we are making progress, but it is not progress at all, because it is based on the fundamental illusion of I am this body. So just like a building, if the base of that building is not properly constructed, the whole building will collapse. It's just a matter of time. Similarly, if our fundamental concept of that I am the soul, I am the eternal soul, the part and parcel of Krishna, and my swaroop is to serve Krishna. That is my basic, like a fish likes to swim. It can only be alive in the water. It cannot be alive in the land, right? Similarly, that is my basic nature, that I can only be happy when I'm serving Krishna and when I'm serving the devotees of Krishna. If that particular fundamental thing is not clear, then we are in illusion. Many people ask, what is Maya? Maya is the absence of the knowledge of Krishna, absence of when we are considering anything for myself, for my sense enjoyment, and I'm not considering it for the sense enjoyment of Krishna, for the satisfaction of Krishna, then that is Maya, that is illusion. So similarly, if the whole materialistic society is based on this illusion that I am this body, then whatever advancement they are making, that is not advanced. That is totally opposite. It is not advancement at all. It is not a progress at all. For example, if we consider, so before partition, there were still some communal fights between the Hindus and Muslims, but those fights were small. They gave a materialistic solution to this materialistic problem, that have a separate country altogether. And then after that, we have seen that the war tensions have increased. There have been wars as well. The impact of that particular uh, issue that was happening, it actually, instead of getting a solution, it increased. So what has happened? If you try to give material solutions to material problems, it is going to, in fact, increase the material problem. So many other categories also you can consider, even in material medical sciences. They are trying to make a person live longer, but the number of diseases are increasing. So what kind of advancement are we making? There is no advancement, right? So here in this particular verse, when Krishna is using this analogy of dress, so how can we stretch this particular example further? So how a shirt is made. So, right, for example, if you want to make a shirt for yourself, you go to the tailor and you give him some cloth. Then he takes your measurement of what is your size, and then he cuts the cloth as per your body size and shape, right? Similarly, if my body is a dress, it is made up of matter, and this matter is growing around the soul. So, what happens when the conception happens is, because the soul has arrived, now the matter will start accumulating around the soul, which would then become an embryo or fetus in the body of a child, right? So the matter will not grow by itself. Matter does not have that quality of growing by itself. It must have some spirit which is controlling it, right? Which is actually causing it to grow. So this soul that we are having in, when this body is made, it is made based on the desires of the soul. And because we have two hands, so my dress is also having two hands, right? My dress will have these sleeves. If I'm having legs, my the pant would be sewed in that way. Similarly, the dress is actually replicating the body. Similarly, this body is replicating the soul, right? This body is made according to the soul. So in other words, logically, what we can say is that the body has a form, and it signifies that the soul also has a form, right? This much is clear to everyone. Is anyone having any doubt here that the soul is not having a form, or the soul is formless, or soul is just a light or something? Okay. So moving ahead, initially in the previous verses, what have we seen? The size of the soul, right? In the purport through Mundak Upanishad and Katha Upanishad, Prabhupada mentioned that the size of the soul is very, very tiny, 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair. That is the size of the soul. So it is so small, it can also be termed as a spiritual atom, which is much, much, much smaller than a material atom. And therefore, there is practically nothing materially available which can actually perceive it, right? But that particular tiny soul, because it is tiny, it is having a tiny form. Let's say if you see a particular if you see sun from a very long distance, you might see just a very small thing. When you try to go towards it, you would see a better form. When you actually go into the sun planet, which is not possible for us, but when we talk about the actual way, so if you go to the sun planet, you would see that there is a sun god, there is a sun disk, and based on the sun disk, the sun is showing that uh, globe form, right? Similarly, it does not mean if I am seeing from a very long distance that the sun is a point, that means the sun is a point and it is not having a form. When we go closer, we see that the sun is being ruled by a sun god, and the sun god is a person. Similarly, if my soul is very, very tiny, if you are not able to perceive it, if you're not able to see it, that does not mean that it does not has a form. It has a form, but that particular form is very tiny. and it also has a personality. So this particular form and personality which is around this is the body which is going, right? So we, as per Kathopanishad, we also saw that there are two kinds of soul in this body. One is Anayor Aniyan, which means very, very tiny, tinier than the atom in the seed form, which is called the individual spirit soul, which is us. And the Mahato Mahiyan, which means greater than the greatest. So the super soul, the Paramatma, is of the size of a thumb. And he also resides in the region of the heart. And the soul, the very tiny portion that we are, our soul is, that also resides in the region of the heart. But because the super soul is Paramatma himself, he is Krishna himself, therefore he is all powerful. And we are not. We are portions of him, but we are not powerful. Right. So these both the souls are residing in our heart. And the Jivatma is desiring, and Krishna as Paramatma in the heart is sanctioning those desires. This we will see in the later chapters, chapter 13 onwards, that the Paramatma is the sanctioner of the desires of the soul. And after Paramatma has sanctioned these desires, Prakriti, the material nature, is supplying the appropriate material body to fulfill the desires that we are having. So if I am having this desire to pick up my bottle, right? So I want to pick up my bottle. What if the Paramatma doesn't sanction? Based on my past karmic activities, I must get a, let's say, I must go in coma at this point of time, or I might get a paralysis. If the Lord is not sanctioning, the material nature will not supply the appropriate elements to make that activity happen. So this is going in accordance with the sanctioning of the Paramatma. I as a soul can only desire, but the activity will happen based on the sanctioning of the Paramatma and the supplying of the material nature's elements based on my karmic activity. So now we saw that the heart is basically considered the center of the activities of our body, right? The soul is also living there, the super soul is also living there. So if I say that my heart is like the office, the main office of my body, because of that office the whole body is functioning. So what is the brain doing? The brain is considered the manager. It takes the signals of like whatever the desires of the soul is, that particular souls the brain takes and then sends signals to the body to perform the activities. Let's say if I want to drink water, my brain will send the signal that okay, you have to hold this water bottle, open it, drink the water, right? And all of this is going under the actual managing director. For an office you must have a managing director, so that managing director is the Paramatma, right? So now someone might say that if the soul is seated in the region of the heart, what happens when heart transplant is done, right? The heart is transplanted, so it might happen that my soul will go to someone else's body. Is it possible? Because the soul is sitting in the heart. So that is what is happening in the heart transplant is a person whose heart is good, but that person has died. That person's heart is been transplanted to another man's body who is having a heart issue or something. And then that person is able to, like, he gets alive. This is what the modern science says, right? But that dead man who is like that person is already dead. So his soul has already gone from the body, right? This much we have understood from the last some previous verses, that when we die, the soul goes out, and that is why the body starts to deteriorate. So the dead man's soul is already gone. So definitely that soul is not coming to this body, right? Now what is happening to the person who is already in this heart of in the bad heart of this person who is living, and the new heart is coming in. So the soul is basically just changing its seat, getting it? The soul is sitting in the region of the heart. It's not like if you take out the heart, the soul will also have to go with it, right? The heart is a matter. It is matter, and soul is spirit. There is nothing. We will see in the next verses today that the soul is insoluble, the soul is immutable. So that soul cannot get merged in that heart, right? That if you take out the heart, then the soul will also come out. That is not the case. The heart is different, it is a part of the body, and the soul is different, which is a spirit soul. It is just seated, it is just seated in that region. So now when the doctors say that we have increased the lifespan of this person, But no, you have not, because you have just changed the part of the body. It's like in your car, let's say the seat is not, the seat has been torn by some infant. So you are changing the seat of your car. Does that mean that the car has got a new life? No. The body, we cannot prolong our lives. We cannot prolong the life of any individual even by a fraction of a second. That is not something which has been given to us, which is, it is not sanctioned to us by the Paramatma, right? So therefore, even when the heart transplant happens, it's not like the soul, the other soul is coming to my heart, or where is my soul going. That's not the case. It's my soul only. It's just changing the position from initially the first heart seat now to the other heart seat. So this was another analogy which I've heard from the lectures of His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Swami Maharaj, and which I wanted to add in here, just to mention, because someone might have a question, right? If heart is so important. So life, our lifespan in this world is the time for which this Jivatma is going to reside in this body, and it is based on our karma and our prarabdha, right? Prarabdha and karma is the same thing. It's our previous activities that we have performed. So based on that, there would be a particular lifespan that I might be having, and we cannot prolong it. So because this body is made by the will of the God and is given to us by special arrangement as per our karma, it is not possible for us to prolong life in this body by any material arrangements, right? The most important thing which we also must understand is, and what I have seen the senior devotees do is, if some particular person is trying to mix matter with spirit. So if particular person is giving asking a question wherein he is mixing matter and spirit, first of all, the question is wrong. What we try to do, we try to explain things, we start to explain things logically and this and that and through shastra. But what we have to also understand is that that's not possible. Any spiritual, any material solution cannot be applied to us, because we are a spirit soul. So a material solution will bring in more material problems, right? So now we have to see what is this body. We understood how the soul works, right? So this constitutional position of the Jivatma is Satchidanand. This much I guess everyone would agree. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Anand means full of bliss. Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. He is all of this in full. In highest capacity, Krishna is Satchidanand. Because we are part and parcel of Krishna, everything, we have the same nature, but it is, the quantity is very less. The same quality, but the quantity is less. So that is also our constitutional position as a Jivatma. So by default, we were in the spiritual world. We were enjoying our life of bliss with the Supreme Lord. But sometime when we developed this desire to enjoy separately from the Lord, when we wanted to enjoy independently of the Lord, He has sent us into this material world. Just like a father, when the son grows up and he thinks that I do not want to stay along, I want to stay separately, I want to have my independent house, I want to have my independent world, and all those things, right? What the father does at this point of time, at this age, the father cannot force the child to stay with him. Even after giving many logical reasons, he cannot, because there is an individual desire of that particular living entity, which the father is not trying to force his own desire, right? Similarly, Krishna gives us this free will. He does not force upon us that, oh, this oh Jiva, you're going to suffer, you're going to suffer birth, old age, disease, and that, don't go. So Krishna will not force us, because he's a compassionate father. So for us, he creates this material world. And once we come in the contact of material environment, when we come into this material world to enjoy separately from Krishna, at the moment we come in contact with this material environment, we immediately occupy a material body. Unless and until we get a material body, we won't be able to enjoy the separate desires we are having from Krishna. So once we get this material body, then this particular operation of changing body starts, right? Vasam sijirnani yatha vihaya. Again and again and again, we have to change bodies because our desires are unlimited and our desires to enjoy separately from Krishna is unlimited. From the coming slides, we will see how wonderfully Krishna has designed this world so that all our desires can be satisfied. Okay, but still we will not be satisfied. This is the main thing, right? This is how Krishna works wonderfully. So what is spiritual body? First we will understand that. So we understood that a material body is because we want to enjoy in this material world, we must occupy a material body. Similarly, if we want to enjoy spiritual pleasure, then we must have a spiritual body, right? This we already had when we were in the spiritual world, but we left it and we came to get a material body here. So although this process of Krishna consciousness that we are following, chanting, dancing, feasting, serving the devotees, glorifying the devotees, all of this process of Krishna consciousness that we are doing, it gives us a spiritual bliss even in this material body. Right now also we can feel a bit of spiritual bliss when doing this seva. But ultimately, this is a process and this is a preparation to revive our original spiritual body in the spiritual world. Okay. The real spiritual bliss that we can experience, it can only be experienced by the revival of the spiritual body, which is Sachidanand. The spiritual body and the material body are different. The spiritual body is Sachidanand, but the material body is not. Material body is temporary and it will die. And again, we would have to change our bodies. So when we are preparing now, when we are hearing about Krishna, when we are hearing his instructions, when we are trying to follow the spiritual master, when we are trying to follow spiritual life, what are we actually aiming towards? We are aiming towards preparing for the final change of the body. That after this life, I do not want to get into any other body at all. No fish, no insect, no reptile, no human. I do not want to be born again, right? Because I do not want to stay in this material world and suffer invariably because I'm not understanding my real position of a servant of Krishna. So this is our goal. So when we are coming to this class, when we are coming to Bhagavad Gita, when we are trying to understand Krishna's instructions through Bhagavad Gita, we must understand this is my goal. This is my goal. This is the goal of human form of life, that we want to finally end this cycle of birth and death. And we want to go back to Krishna. So if we want spiritual happiness, we must also learn this technique of how do we get a spiritual body? How do we follow the spiritual process nicely so that we can go back to Krishna? So someone might say that, okay, when we say that, okay, we are occupying a material body when we are coming into this material environment, but how do we get different material bodies? So a body is compared to a dress, and this material world is compared to a shop of dresses. So what happens when you actually want to purchase new clothes? You go to a shop, right? You go to a shop, you tell them that, okay, I want if a girl is going, I want a lehenga. If a boy is going, I want a sherwani and all those things, right? So we are going to a shop of dress to buy a dress. Similarly, this material body is, when we are coming to this material world is compared to a very big shop of dresses. Now, a very big shop of dresses would have a variety of dress, right? Similarly, there are a variety of material bodies available here. Reptiles, birds, insects, aquatics, humans. Which one to choose, right? So from Padma Puran, it is given that there are 84 lakh species of life. Or someone, any shop in this world which can give you 84 lakh different types of dresses? No, right? That is Krishna. What Krishna is giving us? Krishna is giving us 9 lakh types of aquatics. Types of aquatics. It's not the count of aquatics. If let's say just one type of fish, that one type of fish may be millions, but that is just one type. In that way, there would be 9 lakh type of aquatics. Then we have 20 lakh types of trees and plants, small grasses to big, big trees, right? So there are so many varieties in trees and plants, which is 20 lakhs. 11 lakhs of insects and reptiles. So many insects and reptiles that we can see, like so many small, very, very small insects to big, big reptiles, right? They are total 11 lakhs. 10 lakhs of birds, 30 lakhs of animals and beasts, and 4 lakhs of human species. Now, someone might say 4 lakhs of human species? We are just one type, right? So, no. In the human species also, there are different categories. Some are aborigines, some are mentally retarded. There are people who are very spiritually advanced, they are a different category altogether. Then there are Rakshasas, there are Devatas. Even the Devatas, the people living in the heavenly planetary systems, they are also considered as in the category of humans because their body is also temporary. Indra has a temporary body, he is not permanent. Indra is a post. Okay, this we will cover in 7th chapter when we'll discuss demigods and Krishna. So all these different types of categories are there in humans, which is total 4 lakhs of categories. But out of all of them, the species that we have got, the human form that we have got, is rarest of the rare. So why so many species are there? Someone might question that, okay, Krishna would have sent all of us in this material world and just one type of body he should have given to everyone. But based on our desires, there are million ways to enjoy. Much more than million ways. There are infinite ways to enjoy. If you think that a particular soul, one soul has unlimited desires in his lifetime, in that way we have uncountable so many souls, right? Each of those souls are having a set of desires that they are having. Now when you take the permutation combination of so many souls having so many desires, then you must have so many ways to fulfill those desires, right? Similarly, Krishna has the power to fulfill all different millions of desires everyone is having. That is why he is creating this material world with so many different types of species, just so that we can fulfill our desire. If you just consider this point, pause and reflect on this, you would understand how compassionate can someone be. Krishna is so compassionate that just for our purpose, he is making all of this arrangement, material arrangement. It's not needed, but through the agency of Mahavishnu, through the agency of Lord Shiva, Durga Devi, he makes this material world just for our enjoyment. So now when we understand that there are so many ways to enjoy, we still want to understand that think of any desire for enjoyment and there would be an appropriate body for you. So if I want to sleep a lot, right? There are people who like to sleep a lot. One of them is me, I would say that. But what if that is my goal of life, that is what I'm dearly desiring from my heart, I would get a body of a bear. Why? Why are you sleeping? Why are you wasting human form of life if it is not meant to sleep? So the body which is meant to sleep is the body of a bear, and then you comfortably sleep for 6 months without any issues, right? So that way Krishna is making all those arrangements for me. If I want to eat flesh, if I want to eat meat, why do I have to cut it and cook it and do so many things, right? Just get a tiger's body, you can directly eat the meat. There is no need for any other processing. You can directly have the flesh. Similarly, if I want to always be swimming, Krishna would give me a body of an aquatic that swim to your heart's content. So this is how the soul is transmigrating from different bodies. It is also very subtle. People do not understand. It's not like just a desire. Someone might think that I do not have a desire to sleep all my life. I do not have a desire to swim all my life. But if let's say I am speaking gossip, if I am speaking bad about others, what am I doing? I'm spitting stool from my mouth. Now, which animal does it? An owl. Owl spits stool from his mouth. Krishna would give us the body of an owl. If I'm envying, if I'm jealous of any other person, which particular animal has this characteristic of jealousy? A snake. So in my next life, I will get a body of snake. So all these subtle emotions that we are developing inside us in this lifetime, it's not that they are not leading thinking ourselves that I'm very pious, I worship my Lord every day, Om Jai Jagadish Hare, every day, rotating the agarbatti, rotating the diya, and I'm very much religious. I also give some donation for Janmashtami. So this is not everything, right? How much are we able to understand our soul? How much are we able to comprehend our desires? That is very important, and that is actually going to take us to another body, or it might also end up this birth and death life cycle, and we would be going back to Krishna. So this is a very serious matter. So just the conclusion of what all we have discussed till now is we have to understand just how perfectly this creation is being, this world is being created by Krishna. To see the perfection of Krishna's creation, how perfectly he has made these different bodies to suit just the kind of body I need according to my desires, right? And uh, cause of the change of bodies is that we want to enjoy this material world. So that is not something which Krishna is directing. It is me. I am wanting to enjoy separate from him, and that is why I have to be in this material world, go through all these sufferings, and go through all these different bodies, right? Because we do not want to surrender to Krishna. And there are many people who say that why Krishna is giving, why God is giving so much of pain, why he is giving so much of suffering. If there is God, there would be no suffering. But are you God conscious? Are you taking his instruction? No, you do not want to surrender to Krishna. So you have to suffer. You have to accept material bodies, and accepting material bodies means suffering. So any intelligent man, so in Chaitanya Charitamrit, it is said, Sumedhasaha. Sumedhasaha. Medha means intelligence. Sumedhasaha is very intelligent. An intelligent person will understand that I do not want to keep changing dresses like this. I want a final situation that would be permanently happy and blissful. So, this is our goal. This is what we are desiring for. And this is how we have to help ourselves and help others as well to go back to Krishna. This is what Srila Prabhupada's desire is. I would just like to pause for a minute and would like to see if there are questions, if there are any doubts in whatever we have discussed till now. Okay. So I guess we are
Like,
good.
Mataji, I have a question. Mataji, the God like Krishna is present in all 84 like species, or it is some other form of Krishna? Because
Krishna as Paramatma, as Shirodakshay Vishnu. So there are three types of Vishnu: Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu. Mahavishnu is the one who takes the desire of Krishna to create this material world, and from every pore of his body comes millions of universes. The universes can be big and small. Uh, Even the Brahmas in those universes have different. Let's say if the universe is very big, the Brahma would have hundreds of heads. You would see in the Brahma Vimohan Leela of Krishna Leela, you would see that when Brahma came to ask for apology to Krishna, Krishna asked, like the doorkeeper asked, which Brahma? So he got bewildered that, oh, which Brahma means what? I am the only Brahma. So then he got to know that when all the Brahmas came, then he saw that, okay, I'm just one insignificant Brahma of one small universe with just four heads. So Mahavishnu is the one who is creating these many universes. So he is the Paramatma of multiple universes. Then in those universes, in every universe, there are 14 planetary systems. In that one universe, there is a there is a Garbhodakshay Vishnu, from whose navel comes Brahmaji. And then Brahmaji creates the 14 planetary systems as per the desire of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So Garbhodakshay Vishnu is the Paramatma of that one universe. And after all the living entities are created by Brahma, then Garbhodakshay Vishnu enters as Shirodakshay Vishnu in each and every living entity's heart, because you see, matter is not matter cannot be attractive at all. The only reason any matter is attractive, this table is attractive, this laptop is attractive, it is having any feature, that feature is because of the presence of Shirodakshay Vishnu. If Shirodakshay Vishnu is not there, matter cannot be attractive. So in that way, Shirodakshay Vishnu is seated in the heart of every living entity, in every atom actually, so that like he is there as our main guide. He is a Surada. So in one of the verses of Bhagavad Gita, Surada Sarva Bhutanam. Surada means best friend, the bestest well-wisher. So Krishna is the bestest well-wisher, even when he is making us come to this filthy place and so that we suffer and we understand that I'm rotting here and I want to go back to my real father. Still, in that position also, he wants to come to protect us. So he comes as Paramatma. Yes, Prabhuji.
Mataji, it means like whatever, like even in ant or fish also same,
Yes.
whatever is there in human beings, same God is there. Yeah.
Super soul is there in everyone's heart.
And it is same only.
So yes, Paramatma is the same. Nishiro Daksha Vishnu.
Ji Mata. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Okay, so sharing back again. Okay. So this is a slide. I would anyhow share the PPT with all of you, so you would be able to see very nice categorizations here. That how there are the characteristics of soul is being described in different verses. So this 2.18, it is said that the soul is indestructible and eternal and it never dies. The soul is immeasurable. Then what is the size of the soul? All these characteristics which are there in all these verses has been described in this one PPT. So we would start with 2.23 now. Anyone would like to read the words and the translation?
Mataji, shall I, Mataji?
Sure, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Nainam chintanti sastrani nainam tahani pavaha nachainam kleda yanti apo naso sayanti marutaha. Synonyms. Shall I read synonyms, Mataji?
No, Mataji, directly the translation.
Thank you, Mataji. Translation by Prabhupada Kiji. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can be burnt by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Thank you, Mataji. Purport is there, Mataji?
No, Mataji, I would describe it now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay.
So here, what is happening? Krishna is describing that the soul, the characteristics of soul of being described in 2.23 till 25, wherein the whole point of describing this is Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna that why you should not lament for this soul, because it cannot be harmed by anything. It cannot be cut into pieces, it cannot be burned by fire, it cannot be moistened by water, nor withered by wind. So that is the reason. So there are many kinds of weapons, as we have also seen in the Mahabharata earlier, that there were different types of astras, right? Right now, the modern scientists and the modern people, they only know the fire astra. Fire is basically like all the bombs that we know, nuclear weapons, all of them can be categorized into the weapons of fire. But there were subtler weapons of water, air, Vayu astra, Agni astra. There were so many. So all of those basically are being hidden from the scientists. They cannot produce such a astra which can produce water and which can produce air and that can destroy the enemy, right? So initially, what is the difference between astra and shastra? Astra is basically invoked by mantras and it is associated to deities and it also has supernatural powers. So, for example, we discussed like Vayu Astra, it is the Astra of the air, Agni Astra is the fire, Brahmastra, so many. So, all of them were invoked by mantras. You would see that they would take the string and they would mention the mantra, they would say the mantra and they would pray to the deity, and then that deity would then provide the astra to them. So these were the astras and the shastra. Shastra is a weapon that you can hold in your hand, like a sword or a mace. So right now, the humans were in this age, they are only having shastras. We do not have access to astra because we are Kali Yuga people. So nonetheless, the soul cannot be cut into pieces or annihilated through any of these weapons, regardless of any scientific devices that we are having. So be it the older astras or be it the modern shastras, there is no harm to the soul at all. In this particular verse, Krishna is also defeating Mayavad. How is he defeating? He says it is not possible to cut the individual souls from the original soul, nor it can be merged with it. So, if someone says, let's say there are many people who say that there was a super soul, then from that soul, because it is written in many shastras, right, that we are part and parcel, part and parcel. So they take it literally that if there is if there is what we can say, if there is a particular atta, right, and from that atta you are taking out small portions to make rotis, right? So at the end that atta will not be there, right? It has become all of it has become rotis. So then they give this analogy saying this, especially Mayavadis, that there was Lord, and then from him came so many other portions, right? And they are also God, but the original God is not there. So in that way, here when it is said that it cannot be cut into pieces, Krishna is trying to establish that it is not possible to cut the individual souls from the original souls. And then when they say that when we are getting liberated, we are merging in the Supreme Brahman, that also is not possible, because merging means we are losing our identity. But we see that Krishna has mother, Krishna has father, Krishna has so many relatives, Krishna has gopis, Krishna has so many gopas friends. So all of them are serving Krishna as separate entities. We will also be serving Krishna as separate entities. Even after liberation, there is nothing like that we are merging with Krishna. We are merging in Krishna's body. That is not happening. We will always stay as individual, separate entities. Okay, this is this same thing has Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport, that in the Varaha Puran, the living entities are described as separated parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so. Separated part and parcels. We are eternally separated. According to the Bhagavad Gita also. So even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity. As is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna, Arjun became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. So this particular point is very important, because before coming to spiritual life, many people has this doubt that we are going to, after liberation, we are going to merge with the Supreme Brahman, and there is only light that is supreme, that is the absolute truth, and liberation means merging. This is a very basic, vague idea of liberation that generally people have. This is being defeated by Krishna in this verse. So any doubt anyone is having here? Okay, moving ahead. So comes the text 24. Yes, someone would like to read it?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Acchedyam adayo. Acchedyoyam adayoyam.
Achedyoyam
Akledyo
adayoyam.
Akledyo shosya evacha.
Akledyo sosya evacha.
Nitya sarvagata sthanur.
Nitya sarvagata sthanur.
Achaloyam sanatanaha.
Achaloyam sanatanaha.
Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So here again, some more characteristics Krishna is presenting, that the individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, right? So it cannot be, you cannot break it with any weapon or any other thing. It is insoluble means it doesn't lose its identity. It is not getting one meaning is it is not getting it's soluble with, let's say, any other liquid or water or anything. But the other way, it is not losing its identity. It's insoluble. In whichever thing you keep it, it will still stay separate. It can neither be burned nor dried. So it cannot be burned to ashes with fire, or it cannot be dried with the wind. It is everlasting, which means it is eternal, all pervading, sarvagataha. So this is a very important word which Krishna uses, that all pervading. So like we see that living entities are present everywhere. Even in fire, there are very small living entities which who have the body which is designed to stay in fire. So even in the sun planet, there are living entities who are living. So the belief, many people have this belief that they are sterilized in fire, this particular belief is being rejected here, because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burned by fire. So therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. When we say that the living entities are present everywhere, everywhere means everywhere. It's not like that, oh, they are not present in the sun, they are not present in the moon, they are not present in Mars, but they are only present in Earth. No, that is wrong, right? They are even in the very, very cold regions where it is extremely cold, where it is almost impossible for humans to stay. There also there are living entities which are staying in the form of small insects, or they might have a different body altogether, even in the bottommost part of the ocean. So if someone carries a bucket of water on their head, now nowadays people don't do it, but in the older times, the senior Matajis can say that they would have definitely carried water at that time. That one bucket of water is so heavy to carry if you have to carry it for, let's say, 5 kilometers altogether. When, what about if that bucket is replaced with a mile long lake of water? Much more than that is a whole ocean of water, and how much pressure there must be in the bottommost part of the ocean. Therefore, it is impossible for humans to reach there. But there are living entities staying in such places as well. Their bodies are designed in a way that their bodies can handle that much of pressure. So, in that way, we understand that the word Sarvagata means everywhere, and that there are living entities, there are different types of bodies which are present everywhere. It's not like if humans have not discovered them, that they do not exist. So, sometime I heard this example that there is a Timingala fish which is mentioned in the Shastras, which is extremely big. So the largest fish that the humans have discovered, that also doesn't come into the size of that Timingala fish. But it's not like if the humans cannot discover, it's not there. If it is in the Shastra, if there are 84 lakh species mentioned in the Shastra, be it the human is discovering them or not discovering them, they are there. It is the limitation of the humans that they are not able to find, right? So we should not question the Shastra. Instead, we should go from top down approach. Top down approaches, we accept the Shastra, and then we go for the further proof, right? But the first thing is to accept the Shastra. Now comes the next attribute is unchangeable, which means it is always the same. Immovable, it cannot move on its own. So now you might say that, Mataji, I am moving. There are so many living entities, they are moving. How can you say that the soul is unmovable, immovable? The soul is not moving on its own. The soul is just desiring. The body is carrying the soul. So whatever body I am inhabiting, that particular body is making my desires fulfill. Yes, Sindhu Mataji, I see your hand raised.
Mataji, I didn't understand the example you gave. Could you please repeat it? That
Which one?
one bucket of water.
Yes,
No,
I was giving this example for this last point. Even in the bottommost part of the ocean, where it is extreme pressure. So we were explaining that the living entities are staying everywhere. So they
okay,
are
okay,
also
okay.
staying.
And you told a Timingala fish, right? It's the largest fish.
Yes, as per the Shastra.
After that, I didn't understand. Okay, as per the Shastra, fine, fine. Okay.
Yeah, so I was saying that the 84 lakh species which are mentioned in the Shastras, they exist in this material world. Even
That I
if the
understood.
human beings, yeah,
Okay.
okay,
The
fine,
Timingala
Mataji.
thing, I didn't. You gave some analogy, right?
The same thing that I was telling that
It is the largest fish.
even if we are not able to discover such entities, let's say a scientist might say that at the bottommost part of the ocean, there is no possibility that there can be a living entity staying there, right? There
Okay.
cannot be any, but we accept it that there must be, because Krishna says that the living entities are sarvagata. This is what I was mentioning, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you. Mataji.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. So now coming to this particular point of going to different planets in the same body. What we as human beings through modern science, what we are trying to do, we are trying to go to different planets in this self same body and trying to discover more life there. But the whole problem is that everywhere there are different species of life which are living. but according to the particular condition of environment they are living, they get a different body. Now, let's say Mars. So Mars is a different planet altogether. The people who want to stay in Mars, they must have a body which is as per the environment in that particular place. When like a fish is breathing through gills, like a bird is trying to fly, plants in the desert have different type of bodies. Even in this material world, we see that there are different types of bodies of one category of species also. So a plant in the desert would have a different body. It would be a cactus type. A plant in a normal circumstance would be another type, right? They would have a different structure altogether. So even the same category are having different body based on the particular conditions they are into. So it is also applicable to us that if a man wants to go to a different planet, we have to develop another body which is suitable for the environment of that planet. We cannot go in this self same body and discover life there, right? Prabhupada clearly rejected this idea of going to the moon planet, going to the other planets, because Prabhupada says that earn, we have to earn via karmic activities the benefit of going to that particular planet. So we cannot from one planet go to another planet simply by mechanical arrangement of rockets and spaceships. And we have to by our karma purchase the body to be able to born in that planet in that particular body. So if I want to stay in the sun planet, I will have to worship the sun god. It comes in the 9th chapter that if we worship the ghost, we get that ghost body. If we worship demigods, we go to the demigods planets. If we worship sun god, we go to sun god's planet, right? And if we worship Krishna, we go back to godhead. So in that way, what we are wanting to achieve, if I want to go to another planet, I would have to develop that karma. I cannot go with this same human body that I am entitled to now. So an example through which this can be understood is that if someone wants to go to US, now US is considered heavenly place in this earth, right? In this particular earth planet, people consider US to be a heaven-like place. So even to go in a materialistic heaven-like place, we have to get a visa, and we have seen it is evident to everyone how difficult it is to get the visa of that country. It's very difficult. You have to stay in lines, you have to fill up multiple forms, then they get rejected. There are so many multiple formalities that has to be done. So how much people should strive to go, how much people are striving to go to US? Is it possible that we can go to heavenly planets like moon and sun just like that? If we think logically, is it possible that I want to go to sun, I want to go to moon, but I do not want to go through any process. I do not want to make my body eligible, right? Myself eligible. So that is not possible. We have to purchase the ticket by our activities. So this particular concept I made up come in between because it is important. Even after coming to devotional life, there are many devotees who are very much allured by the materialistic ways of education. And they also deny this particular fact, which Prabhupada used to very strongly oppose, that he used to say that we cannot go to moon with all the material arrangements we are having. We cannot go to that particular planet because we are not entitled to. Anyone is having any doubt, any clarifications, questions, suggestion? Yes. And I would also like to congratulate Srimati Shampriya Devi Dasi Mataji for her initiation. Yes,
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Shampriya Mataji, you can please mention.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji, pranams. Mataji, the previous slide said that the soul is immovable. That means it only desires to move, right? So it doesn't move on its own, correct?
Right.
Am I clear?
Right. Yes, Mataji, yes.
So at any point of time, it is only desiring. The soul just only desiring.
Yes.
The movement is done by who initiates the movement?
So the sanction comes from Paramatma, and the material nature, the Prakriti, makes the material arrangements for us to perform that activity. So like I gave that example initially, right? That I want to lift up my bottle and drink water. But I won't be able to lift this bottle if let's say by my karmic activities, Krishna doesn't sanction this and the material nature makes my hand get paralyzed. So if I'm not getting sanctioned by the Lord and based on my karmic activities, this particular hand gets paralyzed, I won't be able to even move this a little bottle, right? So similarly, even if I want to move my whole body also, it should be sanctioned by the Lord and the material nature.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Yes, Sindhu Mataji also had a doubt.
Yeah, Mataji, this one, even the moon planet, right? It is, I mean, there is no, this four miseries are still there, right? It's
Sorry?
not that if they go to the moon planet, they'll be free from all the material miseries, or
No, all the planets in this 14 planetary system, even if you go, let's say, if you're not going through this material arrangement, if you actually go to the moon planet by worshipping the moon god, and
yeah.
by after this body is completed, you go to the moon planet. But because that particular planet is also part of this 14 planetary system, each and
Yeah.
everything in this creation is subjected to birth, old age, disease,
Birth
and
old
death.
age. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that only I had it out. Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Shampriya Mataji, you have another doubt.
Mataji, so Shirodakshaya Vishnu is same as the Chaitya Guru, the Paramatma sitting inside?
Yes.
Same?
Shirodakshaya Vishnu is Paramatma. He is also known as Chaitya Guru. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Okay. Okay. Moving ahead. So, just by studying this, basically, why we have gone through this topic in detail is that just by studying these things, we can appreciate the glory of Lord Krishna. How wonderfully He has designed this whole creation. You see, everything is logical. Nothing is just happening because it needs to happen. There has to be a reason. If I want to go to a particular planet, okay, this is the process. You follow the process, you go to the other planet, right? So beautifully, Krishna has designed everything. So all the facilities are available for us to fulfill whatever desire we want. From being a tree to getting a human form of life, everything, all the facility Krishna has given. But it is for us to understand that the human form is very, very special. ब्रह्मांड भ्रमिते कोनो भाग्यवान जीव गुरु कृष्ण प्रसादे पाए भक्ति लता बीज. Brahmand Brahmite, Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, after roaming in this material world for millions and millions of years, millions of lives, Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, someone who is very, very fortunate, gets the association of Guru Krishna Prasad, gets the association of Guru and Krishna, and by that what happens? The Bhakti Lata Beej, the devotional seed is been planted in our heart. So Bhakti, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. So we have to understand how fortunate we are that even after getting this human form of life, we have also got the right bona fide sampradaya, the right spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada has given everything in his books. And we are also getting so much association of devotees who are helping us to understand each and everything in detail. So this is so special that it comes to us now. It comes to our free will where we have to choose that I want to keep changing my bodies just because I do not want to surrender to Krishna, or I want to go back to Godhead. And this is our choice. Okay. Okay. So in the next verse, Krishna mentions these three characteristics. Yes, someone would like to go through the verse and the translation.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Sure,
Mary.
Mataji. Yeah, Sindhu Mataji, you can go ahead.
Sloka 25. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam
Avyaktoyam achintyoyam
avikaryoyam uchyate
avikaryo
Muchate
tasmadevam vidikvainam
tasmadevam viditvainam
anusochitumarhashi
nanusumarhasi.
Translation by Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Thank you, Mataji. So we saw in all these verses what Krishna is trying to make Arjun understand, that you are lamenting for all your relatives, right? Krishna has given the reason of compassion, that I am feeling compassionate towards them. How can I kill them? So now Krishna is, because he was crying, Krishna is giving him all different reasons of why you should not lament. So here specifically, what are the three characteristics that he is mentioning? One is invisible. The soul is invisible. So we have already seen the magnitude of the soul is very small. It is almost impossible by material calculation. By with the most powerful microscope, also we cannot see the soul. Now here there can be some arguments from people who say that what I cannot see, I do not believe. It does not exist, right? So to answer this particular question, there are two ways. So first of all, the first way is through authority, and the second way is through logic. Let's say if a child wants to know his parents, so his father. So what is the authority? Authority is to directly ask his mother. This mother will tell the child that okay, this particular person is the father. If you remember in the initial classes that we had in the for the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, there I told you there are important three types of praman: pratyaksha praman, anuman, and shabda. So shabda is when we take the authority of shastra, authority of guru, right? And pratyaksha and anuman is based on what we are able to see and perceive through our senses, and what we are able to logically comprehend through anuman. So those are basically uh, ways of gaining knowledge, which can also be termed as logic. So the first way of is to ask his mother, he would be able to understand that okay, this person is my father. Or else, what you can do through logic, you can go through the DNA test of all the people of the world. And one of the scientists only has told that after 800 years, you would be able to get 200 people through that DNA test. Out of those 200, one of them can be your father. So anyhow, it is not possible. That person himself would die finding out his father. So these are the two ways where we can where the child can understand who his father is. Similarly, when we have to understand the Vedic truths, if someone is questioning the existence of the soul, it is a Vedic truth, right? It's an absolute, it's an axiomatic truth that cannot be denied. But still, if someone questions, then the first thing comes from the authority. The authority is what? From bona fide sampradaya, from a bona fide spiritual master. By studying the Shastra, we would be able to understand the soul. And by logic, so there are different ways through logic. You can also see that, okay, let's say a person is moving and once he's dead, he's not moving at all. If you're calling him, if you're even at the time of cremation, you are like firing up his body, then also he's not retaliating. So when we say that he passed away, who passed away? The body is still there, but when we say he passed away, it means the soul has gone from that body. So difference in the body of a living man and a dead man. Then near death experience, there are many people who have experienced near death experiences, right? So those people also tell that there is a soul. There are many millions of books which are on reincarnation, and it's not like they are coming from Indian people, they are coming from westerners also, and they have done a lot of research that how reincarnation happens. So there are so many examples. Through logic also we can understand that the soul is there. Through authority of Shastra also we can understand that the soul is there. As devotees, we must first give importance to the Shastra. Whatever is there in Shastra is 100% true. Whether we believe it or not, it is based on our condition. If we have that submissive nature, that because it is there in the Shastra, this is true, then Krishna will make that particular truth realized with time in our heart. Through Guru, through Sadhu, through any other way, right? That knowledge would be realized in our heart. But there has to be submissiveness and faith in Shastra. The second characteristic which was mentioned for the soul is that it is inconceivable. Same thing applies here, that although it is inconceivable from the materialistic way, but through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, through devotional practices, we can conceive the soul. You would see, if you ask any senior devotee who has been practicing, who is chanting sincerely since many years, they will say they can separate themselves from their mind. They can separate themselves from, like, they can see that okay, I am going wrong, my mind is disturbing me. They can feel that okay, my mind is different entity, and my I myself as a soul is a different identity. When we are chanting, when we are associating with devotees, when we are following the devotional principles seriously, sincerely, then we get this realization. Krishna makes that realization occur in our heart, that we are able to perceive the difference between our body and our soul, right? Even mind is a subtle body, right? Mind is not the soul. Mind is different from the soul. So we are able to perceive the difference by the practices that we have been given so nicely by our acharyas. So the soul is inconceivable by materialistic ways. It is immutable, unchangeable. So like we saw in corona, right? That coronavirus used to mutate. It used to change after some time, and it becomes even more powerful. So, but the soul is immutable. It is not changing. So someone might say that the soul becomes a super soul. There are Mayavadis who say that we become Bhagwan after liberation. The living entity becomes Bhagwan, right? But this is where we have to understand that the soul cannot become Bhagwan. It is not changeable. It is going to remain the same. So by default, it is Satchidanand in nature. Just because of the contamination, which has covered it through many lifetimes, the living entity forgets his real position, right? But he cannot become the super soul. It it was, it will, and it is always going to remain a soul. Okay. So as I see that I have already exceeded the time today, I'm very sorry. We can conclude our class on 2.25 now, and we can take up some questions. Anything anyone wants to discuss again, something missed out, any realization, anything, any feedback for improvement. Okay. So I guess the soul, although in the next class we will see Krishna says the soul is so amazing that people hear about it, people read about it, people talk about it, but they are still amazed. They are not able to understand. So if all of you are not having any questions, which means you are able to understand the soul. Okay. So yeah, that was just, I was kidding. It's a lifelong practice. Even after giving class also, I am not the one who is able to understand the soul. Otherwise, I would have been very sincere in my sadhana. So please pray for me that whatever I am telling all of you, that I should also be able to follow, and I should be able to serve my Gurudev nicely. So thank you so much for joining in. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद् भगवत गीता की जय।
Okay,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
everyone.
Mataji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much all of you for
Thank you,
joining.
Mataji.